Hi everyone, let's discuss Pride and Prejudice, written by Jane Austen and published anonymously in 3 volumes in 1813. It is a classic romantic novel and celebrated piece of English literature. It depicts the social structure of early 19th century in England. Hence, this novel falls under the genre of novel of manners. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet have 5 daughters, and none of them are married, and there isn't much fortune to go around. And according to English property law of that time, they'll be kicked out of their house when Mr. Bennet dies. Jane is the eldest daughter of the family, and she is very sweet and a modest girl. Second one is Elizabeth. She is intelligent, well read, and also heroine of the novel. Third one is Mary. She is very simple girl and also an introvert. And fourth one is Lydia, and fifth one is Kitty. Lydia and Kitty are the youngest of the family and they are very immature. Also, some other important characters of the novel are Mr. Collins. He is Mr. Bennet's nephew and also next male in the line. Next one is Charlotte Lucas. She is neighbor of Elizabeth and also her best friend. Now we have Fitzwilliam Darcy. He is the main protagonist of the novel, and Mr. Charles Bingley. He is Mr. Darcy's best friend. Also, there is one more important character of the story, that is Lieutenant George Wickham. Mrs. Bennet wants to get her daughter married. She gets very excited when a rich man named Charles Bingley arrives in the neighborhood. The daughters become also excited to attend the ball that Mr. Bingley will also attend. At the ball, Mr. Bingley takes an immediate interest in the beautiful Jane. But the encounter between Darcy and Elizabeth is not cordial, as Elizabeth overhears Mr. Darcy saying that he doesn't find her attractive and she feels hurt. Later in the story, Jane goes for dinner to Bingley's house, where she falls ill and had to stay for a few nights. Elizabeth is also called to stay with her and take care of her. Bingley's sisters, Mrs. Hertz and Miss Bingley, make fun of the Bennet sisters behind their back. Meanwhile, Darcy and Elizabeth talk for hours and hours, and Darcy starts falling in love with Elizabeth as he gets to know her that she is very intelligent and witty. Now, later in the story, Mr. Collins arrives hoping to marry one of the Bennet sisters, and Mrs. Bennet steers him towards Elizabeth, but she refuses. Also, Elizabeth comes across a military officer named George Wickham. Both of them start liking each other. Wickham informs Elizabeth that he is not in good terms with Mr. Darcy, and Darcy had treated him very disrespectfully in the past. Few days later, Bennet's family gets to know that Bingley has departed for London. Elizabeth's hatred for Darcy mounts as she becomes convinced that he is against Bingley's and Jane's relationship. However, on the other hand, Darcy's fondness for Elizabeth grows as he discovers more about her wit, intelligence, and vitality. Meanwhile, Mr. Collins gets married to Elizabeth's neighbor and best friend, Charlotte Lucas. Elizabeth visits her friend Lucas, and there she meets Darcy, who professes his love for her, and Eliza refuses his offer and accuses him for breaking her sister's Jane's relationship with Bingley. Later, Darcy writes her a letter and explains that he separated the couple because he did not believe that Jane returned Bingley's affection, and also discloses that Wickham, after squandering his inheritance, tried to marry Darcy's 15-year-old sister in an attempt to gain her fortune. And with these revelations, Eliza begins to see Darcy in a new light. Shortly, Lydia elopes with Wickham, and Darcy persuades Wickham to marry Lydia and also offers him money just to save Bennet's reputation. Later, at the encouragement of Darcy, Bingley returns and gets engaged with Jane. Finally, Darcy proposes Elizabeth again, and this time she